We have a serious topic today, the case of Marc Casadó. His future at Barça is hanging by a thread. A departure is becoming more and more real, and now the choice rests with him. Stay and wait for a chance or leave before the 1st of September. Casadó knows, this season he will not be an important player. Hansi Flick is relying on Frenkie de Jong, the midfield is already overcrowded, and Marc is sitting on the bench. It's a difficult reality, especially after last season when he fought for every ball and showed how much he was willing to give for the club. Barça is open. If an offer of more than 30 million arrives, the door for Casadó will be open, but the choice won't be forced. Everything depends on him. So wait until January and fight, or to leave already now. And interest is real. Wolves, Bournemouth, West Ham all following him. In Spain, both Betis and Atletico have him on their radar. These are not just rumors, the market is moving. The information comes from respected journalist Mateo Moreta and several Barcelona sources. Flick trusts Fermin, bets on young Bernal, and Casadó now looks like the last one in rotation. After Bernal's recovery, Marc could become the 5th option in central midfield, behind Pedri, Frenkie, Gavi, and Bernal. At the same time as news of Marc's possible departure appeared, Barcelona began talks with Frenkie's new representative, lawyer Sebastian Ladura, about extending the Dutchman's contract until the summer of 2029. For Casadó, this is both good and bad news. On one hand, it shows the club's clear direction. On the other, together with Andreas Christensen, he was one of only 2 outfield players who didn't get any minutes in the first round of La Liga. Lack of playing time is the main factor that could push him toward a decision to leave. He also began last year as a substitute, but after Marc Bernal's injury, Casadó became an undisputable player in midfield alongside Pedri, especially as Frenkie de Jong was still recovering from the ankle problem that had carried over from the previous season, and Gavi had only just returned after nearly a year out with his ACL injury. Eventually, Casadó received trust from Flick and added in quality day after day. This season, Marc has found himself in a completely different condition than last year, and at the moment he is behind his competitors. Pedri and de Jong are untouchable for Hansi Flick. In addition, Gavi, another weakness of the German coach, whom he also sees playing in a double pivot, has regained his best form and already directly competes with Frenkie. In addition, Marc Bernal is also in the final stage of recovery and is another serious bet of the club because he has a different profile. He can act as a pivot but also as a runner into the box and with goal threat. FC Barcelona has no intention to get rid of Marc Casadó, but if before the 1st of September, the date when the transfer market closes, the midfielder sees that he does not get the desired minutes and asks to leave, then Barca will listen to proposals, but not for less than 30 million. For now, from the player's entourage, they explain, Marc is not considering any option of leaving. The Canterano is CULES through and through. The biggest proof was seen in the celebration of the past La Liga, when the footballer went to celebrate with the fans at Canaletas. And his biggest dream, Flick bet on him after Xavi barely gave him chances, so now Marc also believes that he can turn the situation around. However, if the Premier League pushes and Betis too, anything can happen in the next few days of the market. Casadó has a current contract until the summer of 2028, and he has already proved his usefulness to the club. Marc has been a CULES since early childhood, and he gives 200%. He has full support of the fans who simply do not believe that Marc can leave. Here's what they write. I am absolutely convinced that Marc Casadó will finish his career at Barça. It is impossible for him to leave. I am calm. For other fans, Casadó's departure will mean a broken heart. This comment really touched me. If Marc leaves Barça, a part of me will go with them. I refuse to allow them to let him go. Passion and feeling are not sold for anything. And some very harshly criticize Deco, who has put quite a modest price tag on the top player. PSG sold the Watch Lagarta for 50 million, yet Deco wants to sell Casadó for 30. Worst sporting director ever. If Marc does leave, then this assist to Lewandowski in El Clasico will forever stay in our hearts, or this genius pass to Rafinha in the Supercopa final. Here I fully agree with the comment. Marc is a brilliant footballer. Put that guy in Casadó's position and he is going to control the ball and turn 180 degrees. I must admit, Marc is my personal favorite, but despite all the sympathy for the player, it is worth admitting that Casadó does not have the level of Pedri, Frenkie, or Gavi. And even Bernal looks stronger in this position, and the ability to read and break the opponent's play. In the latter aspect, he is one of the best in the team. At the same time, the coaching staff and the management must be careful in making this decision, because Barça is in quite a fragile position before the start of the season. And here it is worth talking about the following moments. Moment number 1. Marc Bernal, after his return, will not be able to show his maximum. The plan for him includes gradual adaptation to the speed of official matches, and most likely we will see the tall wonderkid in the last 10-15 minutes. Essentially, this will be a complete repetition of Gavi's path. The club will act very carefully and hope that Bernal's knee will endure and no relapse will occur. But what if it still happens? Here Marc would definitely be needed because the season is very long. Moment number 2. Pedri, Frenkie and Gavi are really in outstanding form, being under the professional control of Hansi Flick's coaching staff. But before the arrival of the German specialists, they also had injuries that knocked them out for a long time. Yes, undoubtedly now Marc is the choice number 5 in this position, but he's choice number 1 from the bench in case someone from the first 4 gets injured. But at the same time, there remains the option of Eric Garcia, who can also play in midfield to rely on, especially considering the limited squad depth in defense. And if Hector Ford is loaned or sold in the final days of the transfer window, the situation could become even more delicate. Marc's usefulness also lies in the fact that he can play as right back. Not for nothing he was called Barcelona's gimmick. In case the club decides to sell Hector Ford to Aston Villa, then the necessity of selling Casadó is removed and he can be useful also in this role. If there are injuries in the defense line, in the end we may lose a true universal soldier who can become the key to success if the first team is covered by injuries. Casadó has one of the lowest salaries in the team, only $10,000 a week. For comparison, Frenkie has $350,000. And if you're wondering where I got all this info, it's straight from the Barcelona Live app. There you can find everything about every Barca player in just a couple of taps. Link is in the pinned comment. Go check it out. So, in my opinion, Marc Casadó is not the problem in the current Barcelona. Yes, he may not have a lot of playing time, but he fits this team perfectly, both financially and in terms of play. But if the club's finances are really that bad, then Laporta will have no choice but to make a tough decision. I really like the opinion of journalist Rafael Hernandez. Barcelona selling Casadó for 30 million euros when Brighton is rejecting 100 million plus euros offers for Baleba would be outrageous. If the club sell him cheaply, at least include a buyback clause. Thus, Marc will go on a new exciting journey. Let it be West Ham, which suits him very well in spirit, and he will have the opportunity someday to return the Spotify Camp Nou. In the end, let's be honest, the situation is that other clubs are taking advantage of Barcelona's financial problems and buying their players at very cheap prices. The consequences of Marcelo Bartomeu's times are still being felt, although I do have questions to Laporta, and I'm sure you do too. Now the question is for you. Would you leave Casadó to fight for a place? Or let him go for 30+ million to solve the problems with the salary cap? Write your opinion in the comments. Personally, I see massive potential in Marc, but it looks like we're heading into 12 very hot days. No matter how this story ends, Marc has already secured a place in Barca fans' hearts. He's the example of a player who always gave more than expected, but now everything is being decided behind the scenes. Finances, competition, politics, and maybe it's not only Marc's future at stake, but Barca's entire season. The next days could be decisive. Will Casadó stay and fight for his dream or set up for a new challenge? Time will tell. What's certain is one thing, fans will never forget his commitment. So smash the like button, subscribe, and let's get through these dramatic transfer days together. Thank you for watching. Bye.